Hi, everybody. This is Steve Struggle. I'm here in occupied land, native land in what's called the United States. I'm here with Dr. Weisfeld. We want to talk to you about some issues concerning the world, especially political prisoners today. Dr. Weisfeld, hello, how's it going with you?
Oh, likewise, I'm here in what was originally Hochelaga, which became Montreal and Montreal, but the original municipality here was, the indigenous people of Hochelaga. And I'm very interested in hearing from you about the American Black political prisoners, because there hasn't been much done to back them up, except for Jumia. Over the last decade, and we lost touch with some people like H. Rap Brown. I wonder, what's his history?
Well, thank you for bringing that up. First of all, I want to say that I'm no expert on this situation, but I can share what I know. And I think that those listening to us owe it to those who are locked down to visit websites. I'll mention again, two websites that I know have information. One is the Jericho Movement. The Jericho Movement has information about Black political prisoners related to the Black Panther Party and the Black political prisoners of war, those who engage in armed struggle against the government. Another website is the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. And the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement is a Black liberation organization in the United States. And they also focus much of their work on freeing political prisoners, developing campaigns to get Black political prisoners released from prisons. The third site that I highly encourage people to read is the Denver Anarchist Black Cross, DABC, which I think has a voluminous list of political prisoners of different types that are libertarian or left of center. I think those three websites kind of encapsulate to me what's occurring with political prisoners in the United States. There is currently a campaign to build a big meeting around the imprisoned MOVE member and ex-Black Panther, Mumia Abu-Jamal. That meeting will be held this week, I know, in the United States, supporting his release from prison. So basically what I've seen occur is campaigns to support legal defense, campaigns to get people released before they die of terminal illnesses, campaigns to educate certain public or the publics about these women and men's existence, and to organize people into campaigns for their freedom. That's what I know has been occurring.
I'm familiar with the initiative, in Toronto that perhaps was a predecessor to the Anarchist Black Cross support of political prisoners.
Right.
When it was Jim Campbell, the great Jim Campbell, who passed away because of a congenital heart condition too early. But he produced prison notes in which, letters written by the political prisoners were actually published, circulated, and broke through the censorship and the imposed isolation upon these political prisoners, and so helped them to, in effect, break out of prison, intellectually speaking.
Right.
That was Jim Campbell. Yeah. So
actually, I want to follow up on that. Something you said about writing. In 1970, 50 years ago, George Jackson's prison letters were published. That was kind of a turning point in the United States, because the year after we had the Attica uprising. And one of the reasons for the Attica uprising was the murder of George Jackson in San Quentin on August 21st, 1971. So this issue of political prisoners and writing letters and their writings has been a central way of even breaking out of isolation, and the books that Mumia Abu-Jamal have written since he's been in prison or before he was in prison, and since he's been in prison, having a way of getting his word out to people in schools and in libraries and online around the country and around the world. So writing letters and writing books has been a key way for political prisoners to be seen when they are out of sight and out of mind. Yes.
Yes. And it's not merely, for personal purposes, such writings actually continue to build a movement. And that's the the core underpinnings, the conceptual underpinnings, of an avant-garde, has to be, thought out. Takes a great deal of thought, and experience and contact with other people to exchange ideas, to clarify, just where we're going. So this is all part of the process, and it really is, breaking them out of prison, in effect. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a pen pal service,
yes.
huh? Yeah,
Yes,
there's a pen pal service as well that people can hook into. And then we can provide, the links, to the
right.
International Political Prisoner Solidarity list at the prisonersolidarity.com site. And then there's Denver ABC that has the prisoner database of support.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, and I really want to let people who are watching the show think about the impact that a letter can have on a prisoner. Even if it's just somebody that who's in prison, let alone a political prisoner who has been locked down in solitary confinement or harassed, denied certain rights in the prison because of their political work outside the prison before they got there, and they were inside the prison. Just being in the prison, they are a magnet for harassment by the guards and the prison administration. They make up rules for them that other prisoners don't have to even put up with. And letter writing is an important thing to do. If you can write letters, you're getting them out of being isolated. Because what they want those prisoners to do, not get letters. What they want the prisoners to do is for prisoners to feel isolated and to abandon the revolutionary movement. Writes them. It is essential that we write prisoners. And and I'll give you some advice. Write letters that are plain, no rhetoric, nothing militant. Just, we support you. How you doing? My name is so-and-so. I want to let you know you have been forgotten. Hope things are going well with you. It's just something like that. That's what you have to do. And you never know, the prison might be so inspired to develop a pen pal connection with you. If not, they will get your letter, and reading that letter will uplift their spirits. It's very important that we do it. We cannot let our people who have been locked down be out of our minds. Writing letters is a way to make sure they stay in our mind. We have to sit down, write the letter, address the letter, put a stamp on a letter, and send it. That's not a lot to do, but it's a lot to do. You have to make time. You have to consciously approach this as a way of showing solidarity. That's very important.
Yeah, and once the letters come into the prison, then the guards, they know, that you're in contact with the outside and that you have a movement behind you that will come and support you if you ever get, targeted, like to be put into solitary confinement, for nothing at all.
That's exactly right.
Very important.
That's exactly right. They don't know what support you have until those letters start coming in and they drop them off or they pick the letters up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's how I see the movement to liberate political prisoners. Now, there's a tactic, and that Malcolm X grassroots movement. I heard him on the radio about a month ago on a Pacifica program sponsored by a gentleman called Davey D. And Davey D is a professor, a lecturer at San Francisco State University. And a member of the Malcolm X grassroots movement said that they had to expand, not hide, but expand in their propaganda and their agitation work around prisons, expand the public's understanding of who these men and women are. They're writers, they're engineers, they're not just all that, and they didn't hide their activism. That's why they're in prison, for their activism. But let people know that they have grandchildren, that they, that at this point, many of them are elders in the community, to find just another way of generating support.
Yes.
Just let you know, just because they were saying that many people now, 40 years after the liberation movement, don't know about the movement.
Yeah.
And don't know about these gentlemen and ladies who are in prison.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are. The history has not been passed on.
Mhm.
Had to find a way of getting the attention of broad masses in churches, in synagogues, and in universities and schools, and on social media. And they feel this was effective in getting some of their releases. Now, some of those people don't know, which I think you need to know, the audience, that a lot of time these prisoners, such as Marilyn Buck, who was a supporter of the Black Liberation Army, or Russell Schultz, who was in prison in Philadelphia, Black Panther Party member, if I'm not mistaken, when they develop a terminal illness, of course the prison guards are happy, the prison administration is happy. It means they're going to die. And the last place you want to be sick in this country is in prison, probably anywhere in the world, is in prison. And they let these people out. They let Marilyn Buck out a week before she died. They let Schultz out 2 weeks before he dies. This is a way of actually killing a movement, to let people out till they die. Or, as in the case of people we know, other revolutionaries recently in other countries, to make sure they die in prison. So that's why the movement support is essential, because the ruling class and the prison administrations want the people, if they can keep them until they die, that's what they want. Yeah, and that's something to think about for a second. That we live in a society that will blunt your democratic right to be released from prison until you're dead. They don't want your voice to have any impact anymore. Once you're out,
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the reason why they're in prison in the first place, is not because of the charges, laid against them, which are usually fabricated or minimal.
Right.
So like being, put into prison like that is an indication that these people are so dangerous to the state that they have to be isolated from the movement that they are creating. And it is the movement that they are afraid of. And they're hoping that by taking the organizers of the movement and isolating them into prison, that they will defeat the movement. Now, if they don't, if they're not able to defeat the movement, if the movement continues and builds in solidarity, with the political prisoners, then that in and of itself defeats the purpose for putting them into prison in the first place.
Exactly.
In which case,
we got to make that clear. We got to make that clear. That's why solidarity is so important.
Yeah,
it's crucial that we have solidarity meetings, letter writing campaigns, political prisoners, even though our movements in general do not participate in the bourgeois political arena. There's nothing wrong bringing that up in every electoral campaign. But why do we not bring it up? It's the state level. There are state level prisoners. There are federal prisoners. Obama, when he was president, everybody was trying to get him to let Peltier out and to write. I think it was Peltier was the one everybody's focusing on. Obama didn't do anything to let to sign Leonard Peltier out of jail. He didn't give him any part. He just signed his name and gone by his business. That shows you the nation they are to kill our movement for liberation. When they let your leaders out of jail. That's right.
Yeah. You certainly can't count on the goodwill of someone like Obama, to come across, with
It will. The
amnesty
whole,
for Leonard Peltier. No way.
no way.
Nor Tria, nor H. Brown. No, the goodwill means
Yeah, no, they're
doesn't
very
exist. It's
determined.
not taken into consideration. It's nothing for them,
Right.
So it's got to be a movement, like forcing them, obliging
Yes.
them.
Yes. And
Otherwise, they get discredited. That's the way it's got to be done.
and also the use of the supermax prisons. They get the opportunity. They put the political prisoners in the worst prisons, the ones that have no contact with people. You're in solitary confinement the entire time you're there. And when you're out for an hour in the yard, you can take a shower, and you're isolated when you're out of yourself in that 1 hour of a 24-hour day. Intentionally put our prisoners in these jails because these jails have an impact on their mental health. Should be outlawed. They should be shut down. All these prisons, even if they have quote unquote common criminals, where with a word I don't even like using, whoever's in there, those supermax prisons, Florence, other ones around the country should be shut down. They nothing but inflict mental illness. That's why all the talk about COVID and kids going to school, oh, we want a mental health. They can't know about mental health. They don't care about your mental health. If you imprison people 24 hours a day in solitary, and that's a government practice, that's you inflicting mental harm on people right there because of their political status or their caste status as being prisoners.
Yeah.
Really important people remember that. Those prisons, they put our prisons in, these supermax, they're designed to bring about mental illness. They're designed to break people. And breaking means taking your normal mental capacity and warping it, diminishing it to bring harm on you because you are a revolutionary, because you're a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
And it seems to be okay. I mean, I don't know what the UN is doing, what these great organizations are doing, but no one seems to be doing anything about it. Because they're bringing more and more and more and more supermax prisons, and really tough on the mind. Break people very easy because the whole thing is about you being quiet and confined and unable to do anything unless they tell you to do it. They'll lock you up 23 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. By creating a sense of isolation, they hope to alienate you from the movement, to make you think that you don't have anybody, to give you anything, that you're all alone and that you're only face to face, with the guards. And then the psychology of that is that, they want you to feel like you've lost your identity, that you're no longer who you are, that you have nothing to do, you can't do anything, and therefore you are nothing. They try to reduce you into being a nothing, at which point you sort of slowly slide into self-destruction, and then they impose that on you as well.
Look at Julian Assange. Belmar prison in England. Look at what has happened to him. He was in the embassy for all those years, being spied on by the CIA. While he was being given asylum, and then they put him in I think Belmarsh prison
in solitary.
Until solitary, and he's had his wife has said there have been suicide attempts he's made on his life. Also been, if I remember correctly, and if not, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I know that he's had strokes. He's had a stroke or two being in these prisons. So as an example, I know she's Stella Morris is her name, and she said that he's had at least one stroke, if not two, in the prison. The prison can bring about strokes. So they want to degrade our leaders. They want to humiliate and destroy them. That's why we must. Any movement to me that doesn't prioritize it is a joke, at least in this country. They use prisons to break. They use the prison they use the prisons, the court system, the jails, the police, all these institutions to break people.
Yeah. This
is why contact with the prisoner is so important. Let's take an example, the MOVE prison. MOVE is a group, a Black organization out of Pennsylvania and mostly in Philadelphia, as I understand. And people should know about the history of MOVE when it was attacked by the cops in the 70s, then by the police chief, Rizzo, attacked the office. And then I want to say in the 80s or 90s, the Black Mayor Wilson Good and the FBI attacked the MOVE office. The FBI gave the police a bomb to blow up they blew the office up with the FBI bomb. Burned down a whole block of apartments. The point is that MOVE makes, as I understand, MOVE makes a point to keep their members healthy mentally, to be in touch with them. I've heard none of them come, and they've done 20 years in jail. 20, 15, 20 years in jail. They come out, they look pretty healthy to me. And mental health problem they've gone through. The point is, they support their people throughout their imprisonment. That's what you have to do. You have to do that. Not you're leaving them to their own devices when they have no devices. You don't have any devices when you're locked up beside a jailhouse lawyer or someone who can get word out to the outside. So I think it's commendable that, the support that MOVE has gotten and other members of the MOVE organization by the MOVE organization itself who are still locked up in jail.
Yeah, I think there's three layers of support,
Right.
Internal prisoners solidarity, prisoners support each other.
Right.
The movement support. And then there has to be, like judicial support. We have to have movement lawyers, not, like private lawyers or legal aid, lawyers, who don't do anything. We have to have movement lawyers, who know why they're doing it, who have the arguments, the political arguments, for it, that, can oblige, a court, to, and if the court, like a judge, doesn't want to pay attention, then we continue, and appeal it. And we appeal it until they know that, they can't get away with anything, and they're going to be subjected to an appeal procedure, which, can even, lead to the release, temporary release, provisional release, of a prisoner pending, their acquittal. And the opposite, is this making a deal, like business that they have going on, which they actually convince prisoners to agree to their own incarceration. Like, no, we should never give up like that. I'm glad you mentioned the movement lawyers. That's very important. Yes, because I had not mentioned that, the movement lawyers, right? Yeah, I forgot it the last time I spoke about this.
Right. No, but you're right. The movement lawyers. Yes, I was watching a case about 2 years. There was a female in the LA area who had been raped on campus, and they were suing the school district, the community college district. And it was a political trial because they were charging the school district basically with allowing a condition that could bring sexual assault on campus to go on with no consequence. And the lawyer was a movement lawyer, and the really hated this lawyer. The lawyer didn't win. The case was not won, but the point is that the lawyer pursued it with a political orientation. You're exactly right.
Yeah. And then, that leads to publicity. They don't want that,
Yes.
Not at all.
Yes. Yes. The judge told viewers of the trial in the audience, can't demonstrate. We said, what? You can't be outside with demonstrating during this trial. Of course that was thrown out because she could not ban demonstrations.
Like outside the courtroom.
No, we're outside. I mean, outside the building. On the
steps.
That's
right.
She couldn't, but I'm saying, but the lawyers were the movement lawyer was fighting to defend the victim's right to be on campus, and she made a political trial, and the judge immediately wanted to shut down demonstrations. So it shows you how the court system can be used again to the right of the movement even to exist.
Yeah, any ruling like that can be overruled in appeal, and should be pursued. There's another sort of, layer to this judicial procedure, not just defense, but there's offense as well. Like anybody can sue a cop or a police chief or a mayor, for negligence, criminal negligence, whatever. You can sue them. either in small claims court or or a state court, I guess is what it's called. Yeah, I did that, for the administration of my university because they wouldn't allow me to have, a defense for my thesis after I
Wow.
completed all the work. So they tried to, subvert the academic process and subvert the academic code. And I went to court and I won. They had to
Wow.
give me the defense, which eventually won. So, just to do to get my thesis accredited, was a big struggle that took years and years, from when I deposited my thesis in 2005, finally, won everything by 2014. So it's a long struggle, but the point
Right.
is to win, and besides that, the struggle is valid in and of itself, of course.
Right. And if we don't, there's an old saying, dare to struggle, dare to win. If they don't,
Yeah.
then you don't deserve to win. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good slogan to keep in mind when you're talking about.
Yeah. It's a pleasure just to hear it, that's the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I appreciate your sharing your views on this with us, Dr. Weisfeld. And I hope that the viewers of the program will take it upon themselves to look in the description below. We'll post the addresses of these organizations and hope that they will reach out to these organizations and become involved in fighting for the liberation and defense of political prisoners.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today. Thank you.